Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Gull Lake United Methodist Church's daily devotion. And today is the devotion for Monday, October 24th. The title of our devotion today is What God Has Done, and our author is writing to us from Louisiana, and his name is Andrew Michael Ardoin. So today our passage is from the book of Deuteronomy, and it is in chapter 26, verses 1 through 11. So a few verses here this morning. And the title of this passage is First Fruits and Tithes. 1 through 11 in Deuteronomy. When you have entered the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, and have taken possession of it and settled in it, take some of the first fruits of all that you produce from the soil of the land the Lord your God is giving you, and put them in a basket. Then go to the place the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name, and say to the priest in office at the time, I declare to the Lord your God that I have come to the land the Lord swore to our forefathers to give us. The priest shall take the basket from your hands and set it down in front of the altar of the Lord your God. Then you shall declare before the Lord your God, my father was a wandering Armenian, and he went down into Egypt with a few people and lived there and became a great nation, powerful and numerous. But the Egyptians mistreated us and made us suffer, putting us to hard labor. Then we cried out to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our misery, toil, and oppression. So the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with great terror and with miraculous signs and wonders. He brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now I bring the first fruits of the soil that you, O Lord, have given me. Place the basket before the Lord your God and bow down before him. And you and the Levites and the aliens among you shall rejoice in all the good things the Lord your God has given to you in your household. So then the verse that we have for today's devotion is also from this reading, and it is, again, Deuteronomy chapter 26, and it is verses 9 and 10, where Moses said, God brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now I bring the first fruits of the soil that you, Lord, have given me. And so with that in our heart, let's read the devotion that Andrew's sharing with us today. For more than a year, I have been preparing to shift to full-time ministry. I anticipated relying heavily on my savings for the first few years of ministry, but recent changes in the economy have introduced new levels of uncertainty. Will I be able to afford to quit my current job? Will God provide? I have considered reducing my tithe to the church in order to pay for my ministry. In the midst of my worry, my pastor read Deuteronomy 26 before our church's offering, and I was struck by its perspective. Many Bible passages about tithing assure us that God will provide, but in this passage, the giver declares that God has already done so. As I think about this change in perspective, I realize that God has done great things in my life. God is my creator and redeemer, so I can trust that God's provisions will extend into the future. God has called me into full-time ministry. Of this, I am certain. And because God called me, God will provide. When I center my thoughts on this truth, the economy no longer worries me. Of course, I have financial needs, but God has been and will be faithful. When I declare how the Almighty has already provided, my heart finds certainty in an uncertain time. Andrew provides some good thoughts, and I especially like where he went with this. And instead of what we always, I think most of us think about, that God will provide, and turning that a little bit and looking at it as God has provided, and so taking that with him to relieve the anxiety he's feeling about a change in the economy, maybe having to change his plans of going into full-time ministry, which is something he thinks God is calling him to do. So I think that's a good way to maybe have a change in perspective, that God, he has provided, and maybe add to that, and he will continue to provide. And with that, we can be worry-free. And then I just like his last sentence when he says, I declare how the Almighty has already provided, and my heart finds certainty in an uncertain time. I mean, that is something we're all facing coming out of COVID, and with the economy, things are uncertain. Things are not as solid as maybe they once have felt. And so I think we can take Andrew's advice here and think about that God has provided for us and will continue to provide. So the thought for today is, I tithe because of what God has already done. And with that, we're at the end of our devotion. So we close out with a prayer focus and a prayer. And that focus today is someone beginning full-time ministry. So we'll pray for Andrew, our author of our devotion, and anybody else you might know that is either considering or is ready to move into full-time ministry, that they may be assured that God has already provided, and that in any uncertain times they can have that faith. So please pray with me. Dear God, help us to remember how you have provided for us in the past and to trust you with the future. Bless our tithes so that they may bless others. Amen. That brings us to the end of our Monday devotion. I hope it's something you can take with you and think about as you go through your day, and that you have a blessed rest of your week, and you're back here sharing time with me again next Monday, because I sure do appreciate it. Take care, and God bless. Bye-bye.